And hello, welcome to Undisputed Boxing. We're back for a midweek episode to talk about Deontay Wilder. Looks like it's locked in now for 24th of July. Just wanted to do a quick video and talk about his chances. What kind of chances does he actually have of getting revenge over Tyson Fury? Obviously, there's been a lot of videos released over the last few weeks of pad work, and everybody's getting excited again. All the Deontay Wilder fanboys. Rick, what do you make of what chance do you give him of actually getting revenge in the third fight?
I always work on percentages because it's the easiest way of explaining it. I think probably I can't remember what percentage I gave when they went into the other fight, but I know I had it quite tight, probably towards, I don't know who I leaned towards against in that second fight. But obviously he did, Fury did something we didn't expect. And he knows now that he can probably box him when he's on top form and get away with it, or he can go and beat him up. So he's got two methods of potentially beating him. Now, boxing him does leave him a bit more open to some, it means he'll probably last more rounds, which means he's got a better chance of getting knocked out himself. But I don't know. After that first fight, I probably said I'll give it 85. I'll probably say 85% Fury if they were going to do the third fight. In the summer, I'd probably say it may have changed now to 75 or 80%. So I think the time has helped a little bit, and just while they're getting rid of some of the demons over time, chance to work on a few things. And then, has Fury stayed in great shape? Has there been any deterioration? Because he's not, not someone who's looked after himself. And will he take things a little bit too easy?
Yeah.
So there's all those kind of things that have probably shaved 5 or 10% back towards Wilder. So as I stand now, I'll probably still favour Fury by about 75-25.
Yeah, that's not a bad shout, actually. What do you make of his link up with Malik Scott? I mean, I don't know if Malik Scott's training anybody else at the moment, but do you think maybe linking up with a more established or experienced trainer that could maybe work on a few things? I mean, look, Deontay Wilder isn't going to be all of a sudden a great boxer overnight with a great jab, and you've got to kind of work with what you've got, but with somebody that can maybe execute a good game plan and somebody with a bit more experience in the corner, like a Derek James or somebody like that.
Yeah, it's hard to know how good Mark Scott's going to be. I mean, I think he was a promising boxer, and he kind of hit a certain level and just seemed to have no chin or no bottle. I'm not sure. He seemed to go down very easy, didn't he?
Yeah.
But technically, he was okay, and he almost looked like he might do something, and then just didn't really have the heart for it when he got clipped. But he could also talk a good game. My concern a little bit is he just going to be another one blowing smoke down Wilder's ear, and not so much a yes man, but still just hyping him, and maybe that's what you feel he needs. He needs self-belief, but I just think he might be someone that could get him up and believing in himself, but then maybe after 3 rounds, he's not going to be able to do anything to get him out of any trouble he may be in. So he may be the right person to do half the job, which is to repair his confidence and get him feeling better about himself mentally. But then 3 rounds in, if he's not making a dint and he's getting beaten up again, I don't think he'll be able to change anything. So, there needs a lot of work with Wilder, both technically and mentally with any defeat. Technically, maybe able to help him a little bit, but I don't think it'll be enough. And mentally, like I said, maybe repair some damage, but I don't think he's going to be able to do anything to change anything within the fight. How do you see that?
Yeah, I'm kind of with you that if the third fight had happened 3 or 4 months after the last fight, and that's really how it's got to go. Like if you lose your belts, then you go, right, we want the rematch, exercise the rematch. We want the rematch, 3 months down the line, get straight back into training camp, you right the wrong. And that's generally how rematches go. It's kind of a strange events how the rematch has come to how it is now, because if the rematch would have happened 3 months after, then most people would say if the fight's going to go the same way. But it does feel like all of that time has now passed. Tyson Fury is going to be inactive. I know Wilder's inactive as well, but I don't know. It feels like that inactivity is going to maybe affect Tyson Fury more than it is Deontay Wilder. Is Tyson Fury going to have some complacency? He's obviously not been, looking after himself. You can see he's kind of put on a little bit more timber. And I just wonder, like, does Tyson Fury turn 33 this year?
I think so. But Wilder's 36. It's weird. We're almost talking about the wrong person in terms of age. It should be Wilder that's probably going to struggle because of it going on for another year because of age and conditioning. But you're right. I can see every reason why people will have the question mark over Fury instead.
Yeah, I think age is a factor if you haven't been living the life and staying in shape. I mean, look at Ricky Hatton. He pretty much cut his career short because he just didn't look after himself in between fights. He retired at 32. I think. I think he fought Pacquiao when he was 31, and he made that comeback when he was 33, and he was just way off the pace. And I just wonder whether Tyson Fury, 3 years of inactivity, another 18 months. He's obviously not been living the life in between fights. Deontay Wilder has always been in. We've never seen him like out of shape or out of condition. He's a family man. It's difficult. I'm always conflicted with Deontay Wilder because when you actually look into like his story and his background, like he got into boxing pretty late, similar to AJ, which is why his technique is not the best. And I think one of his daughters has got some sort of hereditary disease that affects like spinal cord. So he kind of got into boxing to kind of like make money, got pretty good at it, did really well at amateur level, got into the Olympic squad, and then obviously went pro. So he's been doing all of this really for his family and for his daughter. So there's a lot to like about it. But then obviously when he's had those defeats or the draw and then the defeat to Fury, he hasn't reacted in the best way. And I just wonder with, better people around him, maybe this could have been turned into like an amazing, sort of story. But I mean, look, the boxing hardcore have always been, detractors of Wilder because of his technique isn't that great. And, his resume, even when he was world champion for like 2 or 3 years, his resume just wasn't really that good. And he cherry picked. There was never talk of like unifications or taking on Klitschko and chasing greatness, irrespective of, how he was talking in interviews. So, yeah, I've always been conflicted. But I mean, to be honest with you, I mean, I'm pretty kind of, I don't see what Wilder can do or what he could have learned in the last 18 months. I'm not getting carried away with all of this pad work. I don't see what can really be different in this fight. The only thing maybe would lean towards Wilder is if Tyson Fury takes it lightly, and maybe he won't stop him again. Maybe he'll beat him on points. Yeah.
Points, or it might be a later stoppage, because I just think Wilder won't be as shocked now going backwards, and I think that was a big shock factor for him.
Yeah.
And he'll be expecting it, and if he doesn't come forward, then he doesn't, if Fury doesn't come forward, he doesn't come forward. So he will work on things, and maybe Fury have to kind of work some, rework things out a little bit, and that'll take a bit of time. So I don't think it will be it might be as conclusive, but it'll take longer to get there. Just the thing that I think of is just, in that I think it's the first round, Wilder threw a big overhand right, like he always does, and it landed on Fury, and Fury said it hurt, but Fury was moving backwards when it landed, and it took a lot of the sting out. But even Fury said he felt it, and it's, he hits really hard. If Fury is just a little bit slower, he's moving back a little bit slower, that thing's going to hit him harder. We are talking margins a little bit here, so that's where my percentages slide slightly. Yeah, and I still have Fury as a favorite going in, but it's just, Wilder will throw something, and he will throw a few rights, and I don't think the technique will be any different. There might be a bit of feinting in there first or something, but he will throw something, and if Fury's just a little bit off, like he was in the first fight, he'll get and go down. So it's not. I'm actually more excited about it, or more excited is all right, but you know what I mean? I'm a bit more intrigued by it. It's probably the right word now than I would have been 3 months after the second fight.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, definitely it's one to wake up for. And I just hope that I mean, a lot of people kind of forget. They talk about Tyson Fury's performance as like he ran through Wilder, showed him up, but Wilder's performance was terrible. Like even after the first knockdown, the rest of the fight, he barely threw anything. Barely, I don't think he landed anything in the 5th round. His punch output was really, really poor. And I just wonder with a fight, you know, because when you've been hurt, you move around, you use your feet, you use your jab, you're just trying to establish a little bit more kind of composure. And because Wilder's not the best boxer, he's just got that right hand. He was kind of a little bit lost a little. So hopefully with a better game plan, and when things aren't going so well for him, he's got a plan B and a plan C.
Yeah, and also, you know, I don't believe some of the excuses, but that suit, I don't think that was the big thing, but it may have been a bit heavy and a bit, you know, not quite the right thing to walk in on. So, and I think that's one of the reasons, or a factor in why he was knackered. So you just correct all these things a little bit, and oh, you still got me there.
Yeah.
Phone call. Had a phone call come in. And you know, it could. I'm not saying, but this is why the percentages slide a little bit. If he can just not be as I mean, he didn't need all that bulk that he put on. You know, I mean, he didn't make any difference anyway. He was still getting out strength and that, and it probably just knackered him out. And you know, he had enough. He's got enough power without all that extra muscle to knock out Fury if he catches him clean.
Yeah,
and it may have slowed him down just a tad. So, you know, there could be a shout that there are small factors that may change slightly, that may make it a bit different.
Yeah.
You know, he may have put too much bulk on, so actually might make him slightly quicker if you got rid of that. Fury may just be that slightly less sharp, and then something could land on the temple and wobble Fury, and he doesn't quite recover. You know.
Yeah.
So that's why I'm intrigued. I still favour Fury. You know, I think if Fury gets past the first, you know, if someone says to me, right, it ends in the second half, I'll lean towards Fury. I think he'll become less dangerous Wilder as the fight goes on.
Yeah.
Especially if Fury is putting it on him. But I think he's got to be absolutely on his game in the first 3 or 4 rounds, like he was last time.
For sure. I mean, he's got to be on his game like throughout the whole fight. I mean, it was the 12th round of the first fight that Wilder put Tyson down. It was a heavy knockdown. So he's got to be switched on.
I do think. But I think the thing is though, in the second fight, he'd done that much damage. I mean, just before when did it finish? In the 7th round or 8th?
7th.
I can't remember. 7th. Wilder threw a few flurries of punches, and there was nothing on them because his legs had gone.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? So at that point, I think Fury just felt them and thought, well, I can take even more liberties here because there's nothing coming back. And that's what I mean. It's like, you know, if he's a bit more prepared, then Wilder can be a bit more of a threat further into the fight, and that means there's more risk of Fury just having a split second off and something happens. You know.
Yeah. Well, we'll do a prediction, obviously, the weekend before, as we always do. Look forward to that. It looks like we're probably going to be both leaning towards Fury, but let's see what things look like over the next few weeks. What something else I wanted to talk to you about was how do you see this fight doing commercially? Because there's actually been a lot of chatter behind the scenes about how Top Rank are struggling a little bit financially and putting the money up. I mean, I think people are talking about a purse for Wilder of about 15 million, Fury being 20 million. I think for their first fight, it was 4 million and 3 million in Wilder's favor. So it feels like their purses has grown significantly, and I don't see how.
Well, I think the first one though, that was kind of guarantees, not final numbers.
Yeah.
I think the difference between the first and second fight was the guarantees were quite low for the first fight because they didn't quite know, and then they paid out a lot of pay-per-view money, so they made more than that. But the second fight, because they kind of knew a little bit more about the stuff, that the guarantees were higher.
Right.
But the fight was probably only just about covering the guarantees in the end, hence why it broke even.
Yeah.
So
because commercially it didn't do very well, did it?
Well, it depends what you mean. It's like, for who?
For like the promoters. I mean, the people that are going to be putting up the money. I mean, that's.
Yeah, I think yeah. I mean, it's all about the guarantee, because like once you do the guarantee, you have to pay that over, and then you can do a split of the upside, and that's where the promoters, as long as they've got the guarantee right, they've got something to split, and therefore they've got some money. The second fight, they obviously went very heavy with the guarantee and probably thought they'd have a bit more upside, and it didn't come through. So it's more just they gauge the guarantee number a bit wrong. But the problem is they probably can't. And I suppose they put a high guarantee on for a couple of reasons. One, they did well in the first. They got paid well in the first fight above the guarantee, so they couldn't go backwards. You couldn't pay someone like 10 million and go, right, well, we're just going to guarantee you 4. Like, well, I got 10 last time, so I'm expecting 12 guaranteed or whatever. And also, with some of the purses going around for Joshua and what Joshua is offering and all that stuff, for Wilder, he had to get a lot of money.
Yeah. Yeah. So how do you see the fight doing this time? Because obviously there's less interest in this fight because of how conclusive the fight ended last time.
Well, I think I don't know. It's hard to know, but I think that statement's very true. If it had been 3 months after, I think the intrigue will have gone up a bit more because of the gap in time. So a bit like what we've been saying, it makes it a bit closer, and I'm a bit more intrigued. So that will probably help it commercially. And also, is there a big demand built up for big fights because no one's seen anything for ages, and will they get more people buying it because there's not been much to watch? I suppose those are the factors.
Yeah.
And they filled the arena last time. And apparently they were very expensive tickets. So, do they go, right, well, we'll put the tickets up again and, put 10% extra on all the ticket prices, and we'll still probably fill it. And there's a 10% more revenue, so it's hard to know. I don't think it'll do any worse than the second one. But again, it all depends on what they guarantee them.
Yeah.
But because this is connected to the first fight, I don't think the guarantee will have to shoot up like it did from the first to the second. But I don't know. I'm kind of guessing some of these things. I don't think they'll be getting guaranteed more than what they got last time. There may just be if you'll get at least that again, and there might be some upside. And the promoters were like, well, we need to make sure that we make just as at least as much money as last time to cover the guarantee and break even. But hopefully we can make a bit more. So. And
has the venue been confirmed? Is there going to be like a press conference? How confident are you that it takes place on that date? Because a lot of people have been saying that they don't see it happening on that date, and it could get pushed back.
I don't know if I've seen anything confirmed. I've seen Vegas, and there hasn't been a press conference yet. I think there's a chance it could get pushed back more than normal, but I don't know. I don't know if it's 50-50. I know that Matchroom have delayed their fight camp. So the fight camp was going to start on the 21st of July, but they've moved it to it's going to start on the 24th of July, and they moved it to the 31st because of the Wilder Fury fight. And they did acknowledge it may not happen, but that's probably a gauge that they're hearing in the industry. It probably is likely to go on that day.
Okay, that's interesting. I mean, that is one thing I hope. I really hope that there isn't any kind of further delay, that they get the fight done, and then seeing whatever the result, if it's Wilder Fury, hopefully they can make the unification fight, undisputed fight.
Yeah, to be honest, I think if it's like a month delay, it doesn't make a difference, because I think Joshua isn't going to fight now until September, so it's not like they'll be holding up Joshua because he'd still be fighting. But in terms of entertainment, I want to see it as soon as possible.
Yeah, for sure. For sure. All right, cool. Well, I think we've talked that to the death. Is there any other big boxing news? Anything else that we need to talk about?
Don't think so, but we'll do another video in a minute anyway on something else, won't we?
Okay, yeah. What? Oh, the DAZN deal.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, yeah. All right, cool. Thanks everybody for listening. Please like and subscribe.